Welcome back. Right, in this video I'm going to show you how I built this nice beautiful little Hunter. Keep watching. Okay, stage 1, 2, 3 I'm going to ignore for now because that's just building the seat. I always fit seats at the end of the build, or at least as late on in the build as I can, because they tend to get in the way. So I'm just going to build the cockpit tub parts to the point where it can go into the fuselage, which is this stage here. That's part, I think you can put weight in it. I'm not sure I'm going to build this yet. I may build it wheels up and in flight, I don't know, I haven't decided. But let's get the cockpit tub built first. The cockpit tub is basically, everything in the Hunter's black, everything inside is black, so easy to paint. Okay, these are all the parts that make up the cockpit tub, including the seat. You get 2 seat bases. You get one with seat belts moulded into it, and you get one without. What I don't quite understand is they don't put a pilot in the kit, so obviously I'm assuming they just think you might put aftermarket seat belts in it. I don't know if they've thought that far ahead, to be fair, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, if I'm going to do this in flight or on the ground, which we'll see. But I have got some aftermarket seat belts I could use if I wanted to, but I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to build it up first anyway. I'm going to get it painted and then see how it looks. I'm not putting the seat in just yet anyway. So this is the instrument panel. It's got moulded on dials and everything, but you also get a decal in the kit. So I think the decal would look better without that moulded on detail. I'll try and get a bit closer. Well, I can get a lot closer. So that's the moulded on detail, which is rather pathetic really. So I'm going to cut all that off and make that smooth, and I'll put the decal on top of that, I think. So that'll go in last. So I'll get this bit built up. So you've got, I don't know what that bit is, a bit at the back of the seat, and top of the headrest of the seat, that goes over there. That's the joystick. So yeah, those bits need building up basically. Okay, that's the cockpit built up. I've put the instrument panel in, I've cut all the detail off it. So I'm going to paint the whole thing black, do it satin, with a satin coat of varnish on top, and then I'll put the decal on the instrument panel. Right, I've got the for the cockpit in. It's just a coal hole, it's just a black space, there's nothing in there of any interest whatsoever. At this point I've decided to build it in flight. This kit's okay. I'm not. It's not up to today's standards of modern kits, if you like. So there's some of the details a bit meh. It's all right, but there's no pilot in the kit. But I have got some 3D prints that I can make one. So I will put the seat in. I'm not going to put it in yet, but I'm going to put the seat in. But I'll put a pilot in there as well. So that will just take up just about every bit of space left in that cockpit, and you won't see anything else. So what I've done, I've glued the cockpit in there. It costs to paint this area. You can if you want, but you can't see it when you can't see down there. It's just a black hole. I've put the intakes in. You just glue those 2 halves together and glue them together, and then you just join the 2 halves. Now what I do need to do is put these pieces in. Now these are something to do with the guns. I think they're the ejection ports, I'm not sure, but have something to do with the guns, but they're not just blank stubs like that. They're not just a lump of plastic with no holes in. They've got holes in those. They're like an exhaust pipe almost. So what I'm thinking of doing with those is just cutting these off. In fact, I'm not even thinking about it, I'm going to do it because I think they look rubbish like that, and it's difficult to paint them afterwards anyway, so I'm going to cut those off. And then I'm going to glue them in just to blank the holes off for now. So I just need to sit over those spaces there. It doesn't really matter, anything had gone in there. Just to stop. And then what I'm going to do is then put some brass tubes in there. I think after it's painted I'll just put some brass tubes in there. And it'll look a bit more realistic. You have to drill a hole in the bottom of the fuselage there. I don't know what that's for yet, but I'll find out. So yeah, and then once that's done I can then join the 2 halves. Okay, joining the 2 halves. I never ever put glue all around a seam and then just glue them together, because it never works for me. So what I tend to do is do a bit at a time and hold it. So I'm going to do that nose section first. And just run extra thin into that joint. Now Airfix in their infinite wisdom have put a bit of detail moulded into one half of this. That's not going to work because you're going to have to sand that up, clean that seam line up. So it'll have to come off and I'll have to replace it with the fabricated piece later on. So I'll just go through every piece, go through every seam line and try and line it up and get it nice and square without any ridges in it. It will need filling all that though, but just do one at a time, particularly underneath, because there's a lot of panel line detail, there's some panel line detail that cuts across the joins. So it's kind of in your interest to try and get those seams as accurate as you possibly can without having to sand them too much. And obviously you can scribe the detail back in, but I'd rather not if I can help it. So I'll be back when I've glued it all together. Okay, that's the fuselage halves joined together okay, and at this point you can fit the top half of this wing, which fits quite well actually. It's not bad at all. And then you've got the bottom wing. Now obviously it's undercarriage up is this one. You get some blanking panels to go in there from the inside. They're quite a tight fit. I had to clean around the edges to get them to go in, but they're okay now. And then these just fit into these slots here. Need a little bit of fiddling to get them in. Just showing you what they go like. So basically that goes like that. And it all locks into place quite nicely actually. So that'll get that sorted as well. So we'll get those joined in. It's just a case of adding all the flying surfaces now and everything that needs to go on there. I'm not sure about the tail end yet because I haven't decided yet I'm going to mount this in flight yet. I'm either going to put a rod at the back end of it and have it on a cranked rod or flying like this or whatever, or I'll put one in the bottom here. I don't know yet, I haven't decided, so I'm leaving that off at the moment. Okay, I decided to make the jet pipe up anyway. There's 3 different ones actually depending on which version of kit you make, but this is the one that I'm building. I'm building the one that flies under London Bridge basically. There's nothing much to it really. You can paint it before you glue it together afterwards, but you can get paint down there, no problem. And that just gets on, just glues onto the back of there like so. So I can get that bit on as well now. Right, there we go. That's the basic airframe completed actually. Fitted the air brake, I put all the flaps in, ailerons, tail. I haven't glued these on. These are a good fit. I'm thinking of painting those separately because it's easier to mask them. It's just easier to paint them separately and then glue them on afterwards. I could still paint them mainly and then glue them on and then touch them up, fill them and touch them up afterwards. So I'm going to do it that way with the tail. It's all very simple really. You just follow the instructions for the there's slightly different flap arrangements on the earlier ones, I think earlier Hunters. Some of them are straight there. If you wanted to put all, obviously if you did, this has taken me about, I don't know, the whole thing to get to this stage, doing it really steady, it's taken 2 hours to get it to this point, if that. So building it in flight is much easier to do. If you're going to start putting undercarriage in, and putting the flap down, putting the air brake down on the flaps, there's no detail inside those flap areas basically. So you could put them down, but they should have detail inside there. You can get aftermarket parts for that, but I didn't want to do that anyway, so I wanted to do it in flight I think. So what it needs now is it just needs to all set and dry and everything. Then the whole thing needs a good sand. It needs sorting out basically. It needs all the seam lines sorting out and then prepping for the first coat of primer. I'm just going to get primed in black as this. I'm going to black base this one and then camo on top of it. If you look at my Jaguar build, it'll be done a bit like that really, but it's going to be hardline camo, and it's probably, I'm not sure if they're satin these or if they're matte, but I'll work that one out afterwards. I need to get the pilot sorted out. I've got a file to print a pilot I think, so once I get that sorted out I can get the seat made and bob the pilot in, but again that don't really need to go in just yet. So the seat just bobs in there like that. Takes up a lot of room, doesn't it? Don't seem to want to engage at the bottom. It's a funny shaped seat, very strange. It's all curved at the bottom. So yeah, the seat's there, it needs painting up, but you won't see much of it at all. So yeah, next job, let it dry, get it sanded up, we'll get a coat of primer on it. Right, so I coat of black primer, Mr. Surfacer 1200 black. I've glued everything onto the model that needs painting now. As I say, these are just push fitted. I haven't sanded anything at all. I've just primed it. So I'm just to get an idea as to what needs preparing before it gets proper paint on this thing. And it don't look bad at all. It looks a lot better than I expected. The seam down the middle there is not too bad. A little bit of scabbiness around the undercarriage bays that needs sorting out. But yeah, it's pretty good. I'm quietly surprised actually. So it just needs a little bit of cleaning up, and then I'll give it another coat of the same. I know for a fact the canopy has got issues. It's not a big issue. Obviously the canopy will be closed, and that's it. It's just there like that, but it doesn't sit completely flat to the base of the canopy side. So it needs a bit of tickling at the back here, so I'll have to sand around here so that fits better, because at the moment you can't see it on camera, but there is a gap between the canopy and the bottom, so I need to make that fit better, so before I start painting this area. But yeah, looking pretty good. So it's a kind of a strange kit is this one. When you look at the plastic, it's got that, like, I don't know, it's got something about this. I've seen a few of the Airfix kits where the plastic looks like it's almost recycled. It's kind of weird. I mean, the cockpit base and it was so thin you could see through it. It was almost transparent. But yeah, once you painted it up, it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that so far. Right, this is all prepped up now, ready to paint. I've cleaned up all the panel lines. Not panel lines, seam lines where I've joined it. I've got the pylons fitted. I forgot to mention those are the pylons, same colour as the other side of the aircraft. I've also put these are cartridge collectors when the guns fire. I think originally the Hunter had trouble when it fired the guns, the cartridge just fell out the bottom, and then some of them did get inside the air intakes, causing compressor stalls. So these collect the spent cartridges basically. And what I've done, this is a seat obviously, and I've 3D printed a pilot. Here he is. I'll just he comes in four pieces, because you've got a head, a body, an oxygen pipe. I broke a bit off actually, and then an arm. I've cut his legs off because he wouldn't fit in with the legs on. Just see if I can get a bit closer. It's quite detailed actually. It's not bad at all. It's just a generic jet pilot, so it looks okay. I can use him in all sorts of things. So he fits in there really nicely now. So if I can get in with the seat there. So he just sits there like that. I had to scale the print until it was the right size. All kits are varied about what size the pilots are and things. Airfix generally make quite small pilots, so this is bigger than an Airfix one. So he sits in there like that. I've put his head on a tilt so he's looking over here somewhere. And then we've got the canopy that goes like so. I've made it so that the canopy fits properly now. So there we go. So you can see quite a lot of him and the seat itself. So that needs detailing quite nicely. It needs to be done quite well. So I shall try and do my best with that. I've done my best to get his hand on the column. You can adjust the hand. It's not quite touching, but it's not far off. So I've got to do that bit first because I want to glue the canopy on and then mask it up and then start painting it. So I think I do anyway. I'm not sure if I could get away with painting it afterwards. They just generally look better if you glue them on now and then paint them. So the only thing the concern I've got there is getting dust inside it. But if you can seal the edges well enough, it shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, so I'm going to move on with get the pilot painted up and the seat, get that detailed up, and we'll go from there. So everything else is ready to go really. See, it's not a bad kit when it comes to this. Once you've got it assembled and sprayed up, and that, it looks alright. It's quite good actually. Okay, that's the pilot painted up. I'm not quite happy with that. I've stuck him in the seat before I put it in the model, and I've put a couple of Edward seat belts on from another kit that I had going spare, so it looks alright. With the canopy on and stuff, I think it'll look quite acceptable, so I'll get that in the model now. There we go, the seat in place, canopy on, looks quite good actually, quite happy with that. The seat on it just clears that canopy. You've got to, if you were building this before, when you just check it if it clears the canopy top, it only just fits in. Okay, I'm decided to glue the canopy on at this point, and what I'm doing, I'm using glue and glaze. I've kind of put the canopy on first, holding it down with a rubber band, and I've run glue and glaze underneath the lip of the canopy at the front and the lip of the canopy at the back. I haven't done the sides yet. So when the back and the front's dry, I'll take the rubber band off and I'll do the sides. I want to make sure that that thing's completely sealed from anything outside, because from bitter experience, I've sprayed before, and spray vapour and dust and stuff gets inside the canopy. You get static build up and all sorts of things, and it gets dust inside the canopy and it spoils the whole thing. So I'm keen not to that to happen, because I want to paint it in situ, because you get a better paint bond and it just looks better, it looks more, I don't know, part of the model as opposed to just plonked on the top afterwards. But you never know it's worked until you take the masking off right at the end of the build, which is a bit annoying, but I don't know what else I can do with that really. So yeah, I'll select that bit, that back and front drive first, take the band off, and then do the same with the sides. Bit of a slow process, but it's worth the effort. Okay, there we go, canopy's on. I finished the edges off with UV resin actually, so you can just kind of work it into the edges and then seal it in there. I'm pretty confident that's well and truly glued on and sealed up around the edges, so I've polished it all up again, so let's hope that it stays that good. Quite pleased with that pilot, I really, yeah, it'll come in handy again for other models. But now what I need to do now is decide how I'm going to mount this model for display. Now I'm thinking of shoving a pipe up the tail, because it's just a natural place to put it really. So you could have it on a board, imagine from the side, like this, or like that, or an angle like that, and you wouldn't need much of a board really, just a little bit sticking out the back base. The only thing is there, you've got a lot of weight pushing down on it this way, so the mounting point has to be there, but the board will have to come quite this way to keep it from falling over. So yeah, I'm just, it's either that or I'll drill a hole in the bottom of the fuselage. But I'm a bit, if I can avoid doing that, I'd rather do that really, because if it isn't a fuselage, you'd have it at an angle like that, on a cranked pimp point I suppose, which I don't know, I haven't decided. I'll come back to you on that one. Right, okay, I've already made a stand for it. Decided to mount it through the tail jet pipe. 3D printed a base. The jet pipe, this thing can then be, the model can be posed in any direction, well, any horizontal axis you like, so you can have it upside down if you like, and have it sideways. There's enough clearance on the wing to do that. If I make it a bit shorter, yeah, I could do that. It's got a slight up angle on it as well, so yeah, you can just pose it around as much as you want, and you can obviously just take it off. And all I've done is acrylic rod, put a bend in it, put some tape on there just to make it the right diameter for that, and then you've got acrylic rod put into a 3D resin base with the name of the plane on it, so that'll get painted something, I don't know what yet. So that's the base sorted out. I made a bit of a mistake though. I don't think it's a game-changing mistake, but it's basically the canopy on the Hunter. I didn't understand. I didn't look at it clear enough really. I just assumed. But basically there's no frame around the back of the canopy at all. There's a frame right around the edge of it and right around the front of it, but at the back it just seals onto a rubber seal onto the top of the fuselage, if you like. So the top of that canopy there is clear, and what you see underneath that is the colour of the fuselage, which in this case would be dark grey. So in my case it's black. So that's a mistake, that it shouldn't be like that. but I can't get the canopy off now. I mean, I've done a really nice job getting that canopy to fit really well, and it fits beautifully, so disturbing it all now would be near impossible anyway, because it's actually stuck on with a bit of sign on that side by mistake, funnily enough, and then it's got resin around the edges, and then it's got all sorts of glue on it, but it fits lovely and it's just right, so I don't want to take it off. So what I've done underneath that masking tape there, I've just sanded the if you look at photographs of these things, they tend to look a bit milky under there, you know, a bit of, not completely transparent, but you can see a bit of colour under there. So I think I might get away with it, but there's nothing I can do about that. So anyway, we'll move on. We'll try and ignore that part, and I'm hoping it'll look alright when it's finished. So what I'm doing now, I'm just working on masking the canopy. Once that's done, it'll get another coat of black around this area, because it needs to be black on the inside of the frame anyway, and then I can start laying down some camo. Okay, got the first bit of colour down, and done the tail as well. Medium sea grey, or dark sea grey, I think, can't remember. I'm going to use the sausage technique, basically rolled up blue tack, or white tack in this case, and then do the green, and then I'll mask off the whole thing and then do the bottom. I'm not going to do the underpainting technique with this, because it's difficult with camo, because you have to freehand it really, and I don't want I want quite tight demarcation lines on this, because they weren't vague in the 60s, they were quite awesome. Early 70s in this case, I think, wasn't it? I'm not sure. When was it? 68. Yeah, they were almost straight lines, but a bit vague on that one. So yeah, green next. So just a case of getting the green down, and then masking off the whole thing, and then painting the light grey underneath, and go from there. Okay, all masked up for the green now, done the tail as well, so I'll get that done, back in a minute. There we go, so far so good, got the green on now. Obviously the bottom needs doing now, so I'm giving it another coat of satin varnish. I tend to do it with every coat of paint I put on now, because it stops the paint getting scratched, because it's tougher as lacquer-based varnish. It's just a light coat, but you can't overdo it on this sort of model, really. It's fine. I only put the tail on just so I could paint them. I'll take it off again later. Right, so I'll get masked up now for the bottom. Okay, that's the camo down, basically, no dramas on that. I'm just it's completed now. I've painted in little bits of detail. It's got white wingtips painted off the black bit on top of there. I've painted the nose. Did the black bits with just brush painted it, to be fair, it was easy enough. I had to mask these off though. That's just white primer. So I've picked out the undercarriage bay just a little bit so you can still see the undercarriage. I haven't done anything else. I don't really like over weathering these. What I'm going to do is give it a gloss coat all over now, and then when I get the decals on it, and then I'll pick out some little bits and I'll weather tiny bits of it. But I don't want to go too mad on it, because I've looked at loads of pictures of these things and they don't really, in this particular aircraft I suspect it will have been borderline shiny. It wouldn't have been matte at all. The later ones with the older style deck and roundel, you know, just the red and the blue, they were matte, but this wasn't. These are more shiny, so I don't want to over weather it, because I don't think it would be. I think it's an epoxy based paint they used on originally, and they were quite tough. So let's get it gloss coated, and I'll start putting the decals on, of which there are many. Just so I can find them. Cool. I mean, look at that little lot. I mean, I don't know. I shall put some of them on. I'm not going to put all of them on, because some of them will be just lost. Obviously going to put these on, but some of these, they're just so small. We shall see. The certain ones on the bottom probably more than the top, because they'll show on the bottom, but a lot of the black ones will just get lost. I read somewhere, it says on instructions actually, that a lot of the decals on the camo ones should have been yellow, but they didn't do that. I don't know why. Anyway, I'll be back when I've glossed it. Okay, the model's had a coat of gloss coat, and it's also had another coat of satin. Satin because I ran out of gloss. Doesn't really matter for doing this. I'm just giving it a sand up actually. It's quite a warm Tamiya sanding pad. This kit suffers from what I haven't got a name for it yet, but some Airfix kits, the plastic has got a very subtle texture to it. It's not completely smooth. I think it's the way that some of the mouldings are done on the older kits. And it kind of highlights it when it's a bit shiny. It kind of looks a bit, I don't know how to describe it, almost like a artexy look, like a mottled effect, and I don't like it. So what I do, I just give it a few coats of lacquer. It doesn't matter on some models, but I think this one deserves the attention. And I just basically sand and cutting back the lacquer to eliminate that completely. It doesn't show on the tail actually. The tail's alright, but some of it's got that effect. So I'm just doing that. And jets generally are quite smooth, aren't they? They're a smooth sort of finish, really. I haven't decided on the finished finish, if you know what I mean, actual finished product yet. I'm probably going to keep it satin, I think. They're certainly not matte on this. This is a 1968 Hunter. I think they were a little bit shiny, but they weren't glossy. They were just a bit. Well, the satin's a perfect example of it, really. So that's what it's going to end up like, I think. And I haven't decided if I'm going to weather it at all yet. They're not particularly grubby aeroplanes. They were peacetime, weren't they? They weren't active, so they were reasonably well looked after. This process also gets the decals to disappear into the paint. You can't tell the decals anymore, they look like painted on. The Airfix decals are fantastic. The Cartograph ones, fabulous things. If you put enough coats of lacquer on, you can actually get them to completely disappear, but I probably won't do enough. You don't need to. So all the panel lines you can see there, they won't show when it's done. I don't want them to, really, because they're a bit over the top, in my opinion. But yeah, so I keep cutting it back, and then I'm going to finish off doing the rest of the decals. I hate doing them. These things just drive me mad. I don't like doing them because they're so, I don't know. I'll put some of them on, but I don't like doing them. I mean, some of them are for the facade of the fuel tanks and stuff. I can't find out, but when you look at the actual, this is the sheet for doing it, and it's like, you know, you've got a number on the decal, yeah, granted, but then you've got to find it. It's like, get a grip. It takes forever. Well, there must be hundreds of them. And it's knowing which one's which. Okay, so the number 11 goes there. Where is it then? You've got to find it. And there's loads of them. So I don't like doing them at all. I hate them. World War II aircraft are much better for that. They don't seem to have as many. But I'll have to do them, I suppose. But yeah, I'll just keep cutting this back, get the decals on, and then I'll give it another coat of lacquer, and then that'll call that bit done. Then I need to do the underwing fuel tanks. There's fuel tank on each side. The only small problem I've got is this underside grey excuse me, is on the actual fuel tank bottom as well. I'm very low on that paint. I don't know if I've got enough to finish it off, so I might have to either mix some of this colour if I can match to do that, or I'll have to wait and buy some more, but we'll see. So keep plodding on. Well, it's got as many decals as it's going to get now. I've had enough. I've put most of them on, to be fair. There's a few missing off the bottom, but it's not bad. I've given it a coat of satin again. Quite happy with that. I've taken the masks off the canopy. That's gone really well. There's no dust in there or anything. It's pretty much perfect. You could do a little polish up when when all the paint's dried and everything. A couple of little reactions where some of the tiny decals are. I didn't wash the glue off first, because normally it's fine, but it hasn't flattened off as well as I'd like it to, but it's alright. I might let it dry 24 hours, give them a sand, and then give it another coat. But honestly, lacquer based satin Tamiya varnish is the best thing ever. It's so good. You just can't get it wrong. If you thin it enough to put it on, it's quite heavy. It's just beautiful paint. So that's as good as it's going to get for now, I think. What I'm going to do is let that dry, and I need to get on with the tanks. These need finishing off. Can I put this down at the moment? I'll try put it over there. I've got a little issue with these fins. I mean, look at the state of those. I mean, if you scale those up, they'd be about this thick. Something like that thick. So I'm thinking of either, I might make some more, I might cut the fins off and make some new ones out of thin plastic card, just to make them look a little bit more presentable. They're letting it painting up. They've got some little struts on that mount to the fuselage for the bigger ones. And once they're on, it's done. I just need to finish the stand off. I've modified the stand. It looks a bit ugly at the moment. I managed to melt the stand when I bent it. I overheated it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill that and I'm going to paint that bit black as well. So the whole thing's going to be black. It just means the model's more in the middle of the stand now when it's mounted. So it'll look alright when it's done. So we're getting there. Working on the fuel tanks. Quite tricky to mask actually, because you've got to get them uniform. The bottom part is the same colour as the underside of the aircraft and the top is the grey. I'm trying to work out how to do it. So basically what I've done, I've measured the width of the mask line, if you like, with a piece of tape, which is this piece here, and use that as a guide to get the width right. And then you just put thin strips to the point corners. I'm hoping that'll look something like. They do vary if you look at them. Some of them are lower down than others, but as long as there's something like, I mean, some of them don't even have the underside camo on at all, I don't think. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes. So basically, take this centre piece off now, and then I'll just mask the edges further around, and then I can spray the lighter colour on the bottom. Right, I call this one done. It does need a little bit doing to it actually. You know, those stubs are cut off the exhaust, well, the little metal pipes, they need replacing in there. I haven't got around to doing that, but I'll do that later. It's not far off. Need to touch up on that little bump stop on the bottom of there, but again, it's a tiny little bit. Other than that, I'm not going to do anything else to it. I was going to weather it a little bit, but I don't know, I quite like it clean. I think it just looks, I think it's a nice, it has a little bit of weather under it, not much, but I like it like this. I think it looks really suited to the aeroplane, nice and clean, and I don't know, I think it's a nice looking thing. This sort of stand you can just spin it around and pose it any way you like. Won't quite go full 180 degrees, but 360, sorry, but you can have it upside down by just doing that if you wanted to. You could have it upside down, but you wouldn't do that, would you? So the stand itself, it's just a basic 3D printed stand with the name of the aeroplane on. I ended up messing this acrylic rod, bending it. I've melted it. I need to get a better way of doing that. I just need to practice with it. It just tends to bubble up and melt, so I've just spread the whole thing silver. But you can make stands anytime, can't you? It's just working with me. It's just an experiment, is that one really. Every model demands a different kind of stand, I suppose. But I could have make it so it's kind of facing up all the time, but I just got it just slotted on there, and you can just do what you like with it really. But yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm not finished with the stand. I might do another one yet, I'll see. But yeah, it's come out quite well. It's not a bad little kit. I'm really pleased with the paint finish on it. Yeah, again, Tamiya LP24, I can't remember what it is now. I'll put a link in the description what paints I've used. But yeah, it comes up nice, and the canopy worked out really well. I'm really pleased with the pilot, the 3D printed pilot. It does need a pilot. It looks so nice with the pilot in there, and he's got some character to him as well because he's looking out. So you know, an angle like that is perfect for, you know, a pilot gazing that way. So there we go, quite neat. It was just a quick build, this one. It was just something to do that was a little bit less demanding than some of the other kits I've been building recently. I've got to be honest, I didn't put all the decals on the bottom. I got sick of doing it. They drive me nuts, these little tiny decals. I mean, there must have been 200 of them. And some of them are black, you can't actually see them. They just look like specks of dirt. They don't look like anything of any value. I've put these on these sort of markers like this, but all the trestle ones and stuff, I just couldn't be bothered. So yeah, sometimes I just can't be bothered putting no little decals. I just do it. But yeah, Phantoms are like that as well. Some of the Phantoms have got so many decals on. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, one Hawker Hunter. I'll put up some still photographs. Things might go a little bit quiet for me next because I've got a couple of commission builds to build, so I can't do those while I'm doing this. So the commission ones have to take on precedent. But they won't take me that long. So I'll be back on with something else, and I don't know what that is yet. So there we go. Airfix Hawker Hunter. Stills to follow. Thanks for watching.